All right, buckle up, everyone, because today we are diving deep into a visual feast, a single piece of sci-fi art.
Ooh, I love those.
Yeah, so we're pulling our info from a podcast that dissects this image, and I gotta say, I'm really excited to pick it apart.
Sounds
Yeah,
fun.
we're going beyond just like describing what's in the picture,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
What
yeah.
we really want to explore is like what it makes us think and feel. What stories could it spark, you know?
It's amazing what a single image can do. Like all the potential it has for story, for emotion, for
Yeah, it's packed in there.
yeah.
So, okay, try to picture this. You've got an explorer
Okay.
decked out full like explorer suit,
Yeah.
but it's blue,
Mm.
and they're standing on this crazy terrain.
What color is the terrain?
It's like this vivid orange,
Okay.
almost red in some parts.
All right.
And above them, there's this structure.
Oh, wow.
It's just kind of floating in the sky.
Yeah.
And from it, a beam of light is shooting down.
Directly at the explorer.
Yeah, kind of bathing the whole scene in this like golden light.
Yeah.
Oh, and I almost forgot. Off in the distance, there are these other figures lurking around.
Okay, now that is interesting. So like a snapshot of an alien world, but with this weird familiar feeling, right?
Exactly.
It's funny how, the thing that grabs you right away is the contrast. The single tiny figure against this huge landscape, almost
Yeah.
like endless, right?
It is, yeah.
And then the warm colors down below clashing with the cool colors of space up above.
You're right. Yeah, it's like fire and ice.
It is. And then to top it all off, you've got that advanced tech, right? The structure, the beam of light, all against this world that feels almost primal, untouched.
It's like the artist is making us think about how tech and nature bump up against each other.
For sure.
Yeah. And going back to the Explorer for a sec, what do you make of their like gear and posture? They're just standing there, all decked out, staring off into the distance. Where are they going? What are they trying to do?
I mean, there's definitely a sense of purpose there, a journey about to start.
Hmm.
And that blue suit, well, blue a lot of times symbolizes peace or even isolation. And against all that fiery color, it's almost like they're a calming force in this chaotic world.
Oh, I like that. Like they're bringing order to this wild place.
Exactly.
And speaking of wild,
The terrain.
yes, the source describes it as like alive, breathing.
Yeah.
These crazy formations that look like coral or flowing lava. It's not just a backdrop, it feels like a character.
Absolutely. Sci-fi does that a lot, uses the planet itself as a character, and it's a big part of world building.
Right.
Like in this world, is the planet with you or against you? Is it going to help you or hurt you?
That is such a good question. Although with that intense orange, I'm thinking more danger than help.
Yeah.
But then there's that beam of light cutting through the whole image.
Oh, yeah.
It's so golden. Almost feels like divine or something. And it
Yeah.
just dominates the whole composition. I gotta know, what do you think it is? What does it represent? Is it power? A signal? Maybe even a portal to somewhere else?
Well, I think it could be any of those things. That's what's so cool about it.
It's true.
And the source even mentions transcendence, which makes it even more complex. Is this just a physical journey for the explorer, or is there a spiritual side to it too? Is this light a pathway to something bigger? The artist makes us think, right?
Yeah. And that's what hooks me because I'm already starting to connect the dots. The Explorer in Blue, all about peace, venturing into this wild world, drawn by that light, which could be knowledge or maybe even a spiritual awakening.
It really feels like a visual metaphor, for that human desire to push past our limits, to seek knowledge and understanding, even if it's scary.
Exactly. But hey, we haven't even touched on those other figures in the background.
Oh, right, the ones lurking around.
Yeah. On one side, you've got two figures wrapped in these cloaks, almost ghostly. And on the other side, there's this group, but more solid looking. But their faces, they're hidden.
Friend or foe? What do you think?
I don't know. It's like a visual Rorschach test, right?
Yeah.
Your mind wants to give them roles. Are they like followers of the explorer? Or maybe they're guardians of this world? Or even like threats?
I mean, the fact we can't see their faces just makes it even more mysterious.
Definitely. Makes me wonder if they represent different factions or beliefs. Like maybe the cloaked figures are spiritual guides connected to that beam of light, and the others, maybe they're more tied to the physical world.
Interesting. The source also compares this to artists like Beksinski and Moebius. Think about their work. Those haunting landscapes, strange creatures.
Right. And Villeneuve, too. Like his Dune.
Oh, yeah.
It has that same epic, almost operatic feel.
Definitely does.
It's clear the artist was inspired by, like, those masters of sci-fi and surrealism.
For sure.
But they've created something new here, totally unique.
And that's the cool thing, right? Art borrowing and building on what came before.
Yeah. So we've got these core elements, the explorer, the terrain, the light, those mysterious figures. It's like the artist gave us all the pieces of a puzzle.
But we have to put it together ourselves.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of art, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like looking through a window into another world, a world that's alien, but also familiar somehow. And it just makes you want to know more.
Yeah, it does.
But before we go too deep down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
I want to pull back for a second and think bigger.
Okay.
Like, how does this image with its sci-fi and spiritual vibes connect to us as humans?
Hmm.
You know, what does it say about our place in the universe? But hold on to that thought, everyone, because that is exactly where we're headed next.
Picking up on that storytelling idea, we talked about like the looks, the meaning, the mood, but how does this actually become a story? What kind of stories come out of this?
Oh, that's the question, isn't it? Because it really does feel like just one frozen moment in a much bigger story.
Yeah.
Like the source called it a window into another world,
Right.
which I think is so spot on. You
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
like we're peeking into something epic,
Mhm.
something incredible, but we're only seeing like a tiny sliver.
Exactly. And it makes you want more. Like, where did this explorer come from? What's going to happen to them? Are those cloaked figures good or bad?
It feels very much like a hero's journey kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like Dune or Star Wars, you know,
Right.
our explorer setting off,
Uh-huh.
facing challenges, maybe even running into aliens. But what makes this different to me is that inner conflict, right? The
Yeah.
piece of that blue suit against all that chaos.
Oh, yeah. Good point. It's like they're battling something inside themselves, too, not just the stuff out there.
Exactly. And then those figures on the right, they're watching. But we don't know what they're thinking. Are they recording what's happening or judging the explorer?
It's so interesting.
Yeah. Like, do they represent the world the explorer left behind? Or maybe the world they're trying to reach?
I kind of like the idea that they're like a community with their own beliefs, their own ways of doing things. And the explorer in their blue suit is the outsider, someone who chose a different path. Makes you think about like going your own way versus fitting in, what we give up for knowledge, for self-discovery.
Yeah.
Maybe that beam of light is part of that sacrifice. You know, it could be enlightenment,
Yeah.
but it's also lonely, right? It sets the explorer apart from everyone else, literally raises them above the others.
Huh. That's interesting. Remember what we were talking about that light before? And you said like MacGuffin, the thing that drives the plot. What if instead of some object, it's a state of being, like a level of consciousness the explorer wants to reach?
Whoa, okay. I like that.
Yeah.
It makes it less about like doing stuff and more about changing who you are. It becomes a story about discovering yourself, pushing the limits of what you can understand. And those shadows the light makes,
Mhm.
all weird and stretched out over the terrain.
Yeah.
What if those are the parts of themselves the explorer is leaving behind?
Wow. That really fits. It really drives home that idea of transformation, leaving old beliefs behind, embracing what you don't know. The shadows are the past, what the explorer is moving beyond, and the terrain all shifting and flowing. That could be how knowledge and understanding are always changing, never fixed.
This image, man, so many layers. The more we peel back, the more we find. And that's what I love about this. We're not just looking at a picture. We're like swimming in ideas and possibilities.
And that's what art does, right? It gets you involved. You have to use your own imagination to fill in the blanks, create your own story.
Okay, so I'm thinking about those sci-fi masters the source mentioned. Villeneuve with his visuals, Beksinski, those landscapes, so creepy and beautiful, and Moebius, just mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah, you see bits of them in this image. But it's not just copying, you know?
Yeah, it's more like a conversation, taking those ideas, mixing them up.
Exactly, like a dialogue between different styles, different points of view. And that's what makes it so good.
It's like the artist is taking what those other artists did and going even further, pushing the boundaries of sci-fi, of art itself, really.
It's a good reminder that sci-fi isn't just spaceships and lasers. It's a way to think about big stuff, like what is reality? What does it mean to exist? What's our place in the universe?
We've talked a lot about the explorer, the planet, the light, but we kind of skipped over the colors.
Oh, yeah, right.
All those oranges and reds against the blue and purple of space.
It's wild how they work together. The warm colors, they're like energy, raw power.
Like fire.
Exactly. But then the cool colors, they're like vastness, the infinite.
And that blue suit, right in the middle of all that orange, it pops. It's like a point of calm in all that chaos, showing how, even in the face of the unknown, there can be peace.
Totally. The colors are telling a story, too, adding even more depth to the whole thing.
It's like the artist is using every single thing in this picture to communicate something.
Yeah, and I think what they're saying is go explore, push past what's comfortable, search for knowledge, even when you don't know what's going to happen.
This image is like a love letter to that spirit of exploration, that human need to go beyond what we already know, into the unknown.
It's telling us to look closer, to question what we think we know, to embrace the mystery of it all.
So well said. We've really dug into this image, haven't we? Symbolism, stories, connections to other artists. But there's one last layer I want to get to.
Okay. What's that?
Personal one.
I see.
How does this resonate with you deep down? What does it make you think about in your own life? Stick around, because that's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive. We're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into this amazing sci-fi art. We've covered a lot, right? Symbolism, stories, those master sci-fi creators. But for this last part, I want to bring it back to us. Like, what does this image tell us about being human, our relationship with all the stuff we don't know?
It's a good point to make, because even when art shows us these crazy worlds, it's still a mirror, reflecting back our own hopes and fears, how we try to find meaning.
Yeah, it's all right there. And that explorer, all alone, heading into this unknown place, it hits home, right? That urge to explore, to go beyond what's safe, even if it's scary.
It's that same thing that made our ancestors sail across oceans, climb mountains, figure out the stars. That curiosity pushing us forward even when we don't know what's out there.
And there's something kind of vulnerable about it too, right? The explorer is out in the open. That wild landscape, those mysterious figures watching, makes you think about the risks we take to learn, to understand.
Totally. And those figures just hanging back there, they add so much to that. Are they going to help? Get in the way? Are they like the safety of society? Or the dangers hiding outside it?
It goes back to what we were saying before, right? Individual versus group. Needing to find your own path, but also needing other people. We can't really explore totally alone.
And the way the artist hid their faces, it's like human relationships are like that too. We never really know what someone else is thinking, just like we can't predict what'll happen in our own lives.
But isn't that part of the fun? That not knowing, the chance for surprises, the things that happen along the way, the people we meet.
That's what makes life an adventure. And this image, it gets that, the beauty, the danger, a reminder that wonder and risk, they always go together.
And speaking of wonder, can we talk about that light again for a sec? We said maybe it's power, a portal, something about transcendence. But what if it's even deeper than that? What if it's about searching for meaning? Like the big why of it all.
I like that a lot. Because we're all searching for something, aren't we? A purpose, a direction, something to follow, even when we don't know where we're going.
It's like our internal compass, guiding us through all the hard stuff. And sometimes that light comes from places you don't expect. A person, an idea, maybe even a piece of art, like this one that just sparks something inside you.
And the fact that the light comes from this floating structure, not even touching the ground, it's like saying maybe meaning isn't about the physical world, but something beyond it.
Yeah, like look beyond the everyday, find inspiration in ideas, imagination, maybe even spirituality. Reach for something bigger.
And the way that light lights up the ground, those long kind of ghostly shadows, it shows how powerful that search for meaning can be. It changes how we see things, reveals hidden truths, helps us understand more deeply.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. What's your beam of light? What pulls you forward, inspires you, gives your life meaning?
Don't forget, the journey itself is important, not just where you end up. Embrace the unknown, the tough times, the moments where you doubt yourself. That's how we grow, how we discover how strong we really are.
This image, with its explorer, the alien world, the mysterious light, it's like a reflection of our journey. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that inner light shining bright.
Never forget how powerful art can be, to inspire, to challenge, to remind us that we're all in this human experience together.
Well said. And that, my friends, is what the deep dive is all about. Taking one thing, one spark of inspiration, and seeing where it leads us. Until next time, stay curious, keep those imaginations working.